Okay, we're live now.
Assalamu alaikum, namaste, konnichiwa, and hello to everyone from me, Kanchan.
And me, Pradipto. Ladies and gentlemen, this evening is a celebration of the magic that happens when words inspired by a deep passion for life meet creative expression, imagination, and vision. Combined with rhythm, language, and harmony, the end result is a winning combination of our very own poetic heart connecting humanity.
We welcome you all to the 11th edition of this unique poetry symposium, The Poetic Heart Connecting Humanity. Like in every edition, this year too, we have a theme. Let me quote a few lines that will give you an idea of the theme for this year. Crimson of sundown, cloud the mind's eye. Tombs of weariness ransack inside. From all the whack, kindling the path that no one ventures, to even prowl a glance.
Days come and go, seasons swap, friends made and forgotten, age reap. Why do we care? For we have faith, angst of the future, and nevertheless, we are resilient.
You've guessed it right. Poetic Heart 2022 celebrates resilience through poems, music, and heart-to-heart connects. To proceed with the evening, may I request Mr. Suresh Premkumar, Chairperson SGI-Gulf, to share the opening address with us.
Assalamu alaikum and good evening. Very warm welcome to our esteemed guests, poets, musicians, and viewers in UAE and across the globe. It is my pleasure to welcome you on the day 2 of the Poetic Heart Connecting Humanity 2022. On behalf of SGI Gulf, I would like to express our heartfelt gratitude to all our participants, supporters, and volunteers with whose tireless efforts this poetic vision is being broadcast today. We are so fortunate to have with us today the company of our honored guests who have so graciously spared their valuable time to be with us this evening. Let us extend a warm welcome to His Excellency Zaki Nusseibeh, the Cultural Advisor to His Highness, the President and the Chancellor of UAE University. His Excellency Mohammed Diraji, the former Consul General of Algeria in Dubai from 2016 to 2021. And we have His Excellency Mohammed Abdullah, the Managing Director of Dubai Knowledge Park and Dubai International Academic City. Thank you so much for being with us today. The first segment of Poetic Heart event was telecast yesterday to the massive audience who tuned into show from various parts of the world. Our talented student poets impressed us with their wisdom, and our audience participated with their encouraging messages and comments throughout the show. Dr. Dashaku Ikeda, Honorary President of Soka International, said, "Living here on earth, we breathe rhythms of universe that extends infinitely above us. When resonant harmonies around between his vast outer cosmos and inner human cosmos, the poetry is born. Yes, each of our hearts vibrates with a poetic spirit and resilience, which is hallmark of humanity. And this platform provides a bridge to reach out to each other and share our thoughts on promoting harmony and peace across the society. Dear respectable poets and musicians, we are delighted to have you on board with us as we look forward to another beautiful evening of music and poetry. A special thank you to Dr. Dashaku Ikeda for his encouragement always, and to Dr. Shiab Ghanam for his valuable support and guidance over the years. Here, We are welcoming you once again to the spectacular evening. Ed, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Prem Kumar, for setting the tone for the evening. We also have a special message from Dr. Daisaku Ikeda, the founding president of Soka Gakkai International. I request SGI representative, Mr. Nitin Mitch, to read Dr. Ikeda's message for us.
Good evening, everyone. Message for the 11th edition of the Poetic Heart. Allow me to open my greetings by offering my heartfelt felicitation on the holding of the 11th edition of the Poetic Heart. I express my deepest gratitude to Dr. Shihab Ghanem, whom I hold in the highest esteem, not only as a truly gifted poet, but for his Herculean endeavor in making this gathering such a success over so many years. I remain equally grateful to the many distinguished poets of the world who are partaking in this session online. I understand that the theme for the 2022 session is resilience. With the COVID-19 pandemic surging across our planet, nothing is as paramount for humanity at this time as the spirit of resilience in overcoming this unprecedented trial and challenge. I trust that the ever-expansive poetic heart, rising above the divides of nationality, ethnicity, and language, will bring people together in friendship and solidarity, revivifying the spirit of resilience in every individual and empowering us so that we may prevail over every difficulty. The SGI-Gulf Chorus Naseem, I am told, will be performing at the Earth stage of the Expo 2020 Dubai, currently being held there. Here in faraway Japan, my heart longs to hear the wondrous euphony of their voices and call to friendship resounding from that stage as I pray for the unqualified success of the Poetic Heart. February 11, 2022, Daisaku Ikeda, President, Soka Gakkai International. Thank you.
Truly encouraging words from Dr. Ikeda. Thank you, Mr. Vij, for reading out the message. Before we get started with day 2, let's enjoy some highlights from day 1, that was yesterday. This poetic rendezvous exclusively for you.
Wow, that was awesome indeed. Day one of the 11th edition of the Poetic Heart, which took place yesterday, was a resounding success watched by many viewers across the world. Reliving the moments of yesterday makes me realize yet again that poetry is indeed magic. Before we move on, let's introduce our distinguished guest of honor who have so graciously spared time to be with us this evening.
Please welcome His Excellency Zaki Nusseibeh, Cultural Advisor to the UAE Ministry of Presidential Affairs. From the late 1960s, His Excellency acted as the personal interpreter and advisor to the first two presidents of the UAE, His Highness, the late Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan, and His Highness, Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan. His Excellency also served as a Minister of State in the UAE government and as inaugural director of the UAE Federal Ministry of Information. He established the Office of Public and Cultural Diplomacy in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation and is also the Chancellor of the UAE University.
His Excellency has been honored with Arab and international awards for cultural diplomacy by numerous foreign governments and international institutes, including Personality of the Year in 2018, Emirates Literary Festival, and the Officer of the French Legion of Honor in 2015, amongst numerous others. A heartfelt and warm welcome to His Excellency Zaki Nusseibeh.
Thank you very much. I am deeply honored to be with you this evening. I hope you can hear me. Sometimes the video kind of goes on in its own. The technology sometimes attacks us. And this is all the more reason why we need poetry to be at the heart of this universe and not technology. So thank you all. It's a privilege and a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you so much, sir. We are also privileged to have with us His Excellency Mohammad Diraji, the former Consul General of Algeria in Dubai from 2016 to 2021. His Excellency has held prestigious diplomatic portfolios in Iran, Italy, and Mauritania. He is an avid poet himself and has translated Persian poetry to Arabic and has also written novels and articles on literary criticism. About the Poetic Heart, His Excellency has shared that he has had the honor of attending 2 editions previously and was very happy to meet great international figures in culture and literature on this special platform. We at the Poetic Heart are so grateful to have your esteemed presence with us today. A heartfelt and warm welcome to our guest of honor, His Excellency Mohammad Diraji.
We are delighted to welcome our guest of honor, His Excellency Muhammad Abdullah, the Managing Director of Dubai Knowledge Park and Dubai International Academic City. He is responsible for aligning over 500 businesses and 27 universities with Dubai's long-term strategy for creating a sustainable knowledge-based economy. He is also the president of the Dubai Institute of Design and Innovation. He was formerly Managing Director of Dubai Media City, Dubai Production City, and Dubai Studio City. Drawing on 2 decades of journalistic experiences, he built a thriving media community of 1,800 companies. Prior to that, he was Executive Vice President of CNBC Arabia.
He has also held key media roles with Emirates Media and Abu Dhabi Television. He holds a bachelor's degree in mass communications and French literature from UAE University and a master's degree in broadcast journalism from Emerson College in Boston, USA. A very warm welcome to His Excellency Mohammad Abdullah. Sir, may I request you to address our esteemed audience, please?
Thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, poets and culture enthusiasts. To join you here today at such an esteemed gathering is an honor for which I am immensely grateful. I would like also to thank two distinguished guests for joining us today. His Excellency Zaki Anwar Nusseibeh, who is the cultural advisor to His Highness, as well as the President and the Chancellor of the UAE University. Thank you, sir, for your long-standing commitment to elevating our cultural landscape on a local and international level. I would like also to thank the former Consul General to Algeria in Dubai, Mr. Mohammed Daraji, for attending. For those who do not know, he is also an avid poet, has translated remarkable Persian poetry into Arabic, and is himself a great writer. Poetic Heart has been a valuable member of our academic community for the past decade, distinguishing itself as a unifying force for the region's poets, musicians, and artists. It celebrates a core characteristics of our national identity. Poetry is the earliest form of Arabic literature and a record of our advancement through time. Such events are essential in keeping the spirit of our heritage beating proudly as we chase the future and participate in the global forums of knowledge, innovation, and culture. The UAE has established itself a hub of business and talent. We are exporting technology and products, demonstrating our economic competitiveness and contributing to the noble fields of science and space exploration more than ever before. It is equally important for us to spotlight our creative talent with the same passion and platform, especially when it comes to an art form so deeply rooted in our traditions. Events like Poetic Heart allows us to demonstrate the wealth of talent in our network, from renowned creative figures to young budding poets, as well as 165 students from schools around the UAE. Poetry and music are some of the most evocative and universal art forms that help us explore and untangle complex emotions around peace, friendship, love, and tolerance. They inspire and unite us, give us the power to express ourselves. Our own leaders, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid and Sheikh Hamdan bin Mohammed, are extraordinary poets who capture their vision, ambition, and spirituality in moving poetry. Poetic Heart's growing success is a proof of poetry's enduring prominence around the world. Despite challenges of the previous year, it reached around 250,000 poetry enthusiasts around the world when it took place in digital form in 2021. We are proud to be closely associated with this distinctive endeavor, which has grown to be loved by young poets, especially across the UAE. I commend the event's organizers for putting together such a spectacular event for us tonight and hope you are as moved as I know I shall be by the remarkable celebration of history, tradition, and language. Thank you very much.
Thank you, His Excellency Muhammad Abdullah, for sharing such beautiful words of wisdom. Thank you, sir. The 19th century American poet H.W. Longfellow once said, "Music is the universal language of mankind." And in the words of famous Danish author Hans Christian Andersen, where words fail, music speaks.
Beautiful words, Pradipto. And the words become even more impactful when they are set to music and accompanied by melodious voices.
Absolutely. Let's hear it for SGI-Gulf's chorus, Naseem, connecting hearts through their soulful renditions. Naseem has performed over many years, cutting across the barriers of language, lending their melodious voices to songs on the themes of mother, peace, friendship, hope, happiness, and invincible humanity. They have touched our hearts and left us speechless. Let's look at Naseem's journey through the years.
The Poetic Heart welcomes SGI chorus, Naseem. an initiative by SGI to contribute to the Poetic Heart event, was born in 2014. Consisting of a group of volunteers who have trained themselves to sing in Japanese, English and Arabic. Every year, Naseem mesmerizes us with compositions that are melodious, captivating and beyond imagination. The Poetic Heart is proud to welcome its very own chorus, Naseem.
Naseem in Arabic means breeze, such an apt name for this melodious chorus. Naseem will be performing a Japanese song, Morigasaki, written first as a poem by Dr. Daisaku Ikeda in 1947. The lyrics of the song are imbued with poetic content depicting the scenic exchange Dr. Ikeda had with a close friend on the beach of Morigasaki. Transcending all boundaries of race, color, and religion, this song celebrates friendship. Revisiting those memories and building new melodies, we now have Naseem performing Morigasaki to celebrate the bonds of friendship.
A big round of applause for Naseem. Their melodious singing has lifted our spirits and moved us beyond comprehension.
To everyone who is watching us online, make sure to show us your love digitally. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Just look for us at The Poetic Heart. Now, behind every successful event is the support of its sponsors. I'd like to take the opportunity to express our heartfelt appreciation and gratitude to Emirates NBD for their support through the years.
Emirates NBD is committed to people with disabilities and supports the #MyCommunity initiative launched by His Highness Sheikh Hamdan bin Mohammed Al Maktoum, Crown Prince of Dubai and Chairman of Dubai Executive Council, that aims to transform Dubai to a disability-friendly city. The bank has made various efforts in recent years as part of their advocacy program, #TogetherLimitless, to foster sustainable long-term improvement and integration of people with disabilities into the community. Emirates NBD is dedicated to supporting a world in which people with disabilities have equal access to the same ambitions and opportunities as everyone else. We would like to introduce Emirates NBD through a video which highlights their passion for helping society and giving hope.
We are humbled to have with us some prolific writers who will be launching their books on this distinguished platform. We have with us Ms. Aurora Humran, launching the book titled Without Even a Sancho, which is a collaborative effort with Spanish translations from Ms. Humran, Ms. Leticia Monge, and Ms. Angelica Santa Olaya. The book contains Arabic originals and the English translation by Dr. Shihab Ghanem. Over to the book launch.
I think Dr. Aurora, if you can start speaking, or do you want me to speak first?
Salam alaikum. I can start. Thank you very much, Dr. Ghanem, and I'm so glad to see you. You are well, and all our friends. It's yet another privilege and an honor to be here, surrounded by poets, and be part of this party of words and languages. I met Dr. Ghanem in 2018 in Abu Dhabi. I had been invited by the Department of Tourism and Culture to speak at the translation conference in the book fair. And we were having a lunch with other philologists, writers, publishers, translators, poets. And he mentioned, would I be interested in translating his book? My immediate reaction was, I know nothing about Arabic, unfortunately, but he told me he himself translated his poems into English, and then they drew to other countries, to other languages. And of course I accepted. And a year later, I received the document, and this book was translated with my partner and daughter. She's also a translator, and with a Mexican colleague I chose two of the poems because they have to do with resilience, which is the topic of this beautiful meeting. The first one is about the waves. There was a poem by Saramago, by the Portuguese writer, describing also the resilience of the sea and its alliteration with the words and its movement, and it's there, and it was there, and it is there. It seems it will always be there. And the second one is about poetry. Aren't we resilient thanks to poetry in a way? As I see poetry as a tool, a beautiful tool. So that's why I chose these two poems. When I was about to click the send button to send my translations, I had a couple of questions. So as all translators do, we have this conundrum. Sometimes we don't know if it's better to take the reader back in time and to other countries and cultures and languages, which is exactly the same. They are synonyms, countries, geographies, times, or doing the opposite. So bringing the writer to the reader's life, reality, language, and experiences. I have several queries, but one was interesting because Dr. Ghanem used three words, three names, Laila, Hind, and Zuda. Laila is very well used in the Spanish-speaking world, but Hind and Zuda are totally unknown. My feeling was that they wouldn't add, on the contrary. This is not something fixed. Sometimes we decide to keep them, but in all the cases, we need to discuss this with the owner of the poem. That was Dr. Ghanem. So I asked him if he agreed with my idea of translating the two that are totally weird for the Spanish-speaking world. So I used Ana instead of Hind, and Zud instead of Zuda, I used Maria. Laila was fine because it's totally consolidated for us Spanish speakers. And it was a challenging experience. He's an amazing writer. He's an amazing poet. And to me, being part of anything that is around the Arabic culture is a privilege. Yours is the only country where I go and I'm not asked, I'm Argentinian, oh, Messi, Maradona, or the Pope. But you react and you say Borges, because you are people who adore languages and poetry and literature. It's for me an honor to have translated these poems. Here they go. Las olas. Es la ola que viene, es la ola que va. Así son los antojos de la vida, amor. Si a veces la vida es dura, no estés triste, amor. Sonríeme con ternura. Oh, qué dulce es tu sonrisa. Es la ola jugando, es la ola divirtiéndose. Vendrá y se irá. Y vendrá y se irá otra vez. Entonces, si el hoy es aciago, quizás el mañana será más benigno. Si hoy son seductores esos ojos, no te engañes, amor. Bien pueden ser soberbios mañana. No te aflijas, mi amor, mi música, mi fragancia. Alcánzame la copa del amor, llena de dulce néctar. Calma mi sedienta alma, no dejes que mi copa se seque. Es el mundo dulce y amargo. ¿Por qué desesperarnos, mi amor, hermana de la luna, aunque más bella? Llena la copa del amor hasta el borde y bebamos. Ahoguemos ahí este dolor infinito. Si no nos alegramos ahora, ¿cuándo? Es la ola que juega, es la ola que se infla, que surge enojada bruscamente, presta para recibir violencia. Pero siempre que tu imagen duerma en mis párpados, siempre que mi corazón palpite de deseo, siempre que tu corazón se agite ante el amor, nuestro amor no naufragará, siempre sorteará las olas. Y si las olas se interpusieran entre nosotros, se secarían. En nuestros corazones siempre estará la canción del amor, a pesar de todo. What's the use of poetry? ¿De qué sirve la poesía? Sé que tus peleas conmigo son la fuente de mis poemas y que la distancia alimenta el dolor en mi pecho. Mi corazón desborda de emociones y me vuelvo creativo. Toco las melodías más dulces y la musa canta con lengua de fuego. Pero, ¿de qué me sirven los poemas si vivo infeliz, sin poder beber ni una gota del néctar de tu copa? Un poco de pelea y abandono puede ser un condimento, lo sé. Pero ¿puede un hombre alimentarse día y noche solo de condimentos? Gustoso abandonaré todos mis poemas. Renunciaré a mi pluma, a la tinta y al papel, si eso vence al injusto abandono. Shukran.
Thank you. Can I now say something?
Sure.
I am very honored that Aurora Homa and her daughter Leticia, and also the Mexican poet who participated also a few years ago in our Poetic Heart, Anglica Santa Olaya. They have translated some of my poetry into Spanish, and this now has been compiled into this book, which is translations. And this is a picture of course, Don Quito on the horse. I would like to just inform the audience, many of you already know, that in Poetic Heart, we have also focused on translation of poetry, almost from the beginning. So we translated one book of Dr. Daisako Akita, whom I would like to greet here and thank him for the kind words he said, his message just a few minutes ago. And also then we translated, and my poetry was translated into Japanese by Dr. Akash Auchi, who is the head of SGI in the East and in the UAE, in the Arab world. And I haven't seen him for now more than a year. Greetings to you, Dr. Akash. He is one of the people with me who invented this Poetic Heart more than 11, 12 years ago, and with Rakesh Arur as well. And then we translated, and we had poetry translations published every year, 1 or 2 books. And some of the contributors was Silvana Salmanpur, whom we are lucky to have today. She translated into Persian poetry, and last year I translated one of her books, some collection of her books into Arabic. And we had translations from Italian to Italian, to Arabic from Italian, no, to Italian from Arabic by Dr. Sabrina. And every year we had 2, 3 books translated. And this year we start now with this Spanish collection. Thank you very much. And you will later we'll have also the Urdu translation by Suleiman Jazib, who did me the honor of translating some of my poems. And again, we'll have Sabrina translating some of my poems, some of my rubaiyat into Italian. And these rubaiyat are very well received in Italy, and they buy everyday copies. And this year's book has been dedicated to, amongst others, to Mr. Izzardin Mayhoubi, whom we are very happy to have here. He is the ex-Minister of Culture in Algeria and a very famous poet. And also I dedicated it to our guest of honor, the ex-ambassador, ex-consul general of Algeria in Dubai, Mr. Mohammed Dawaji. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and congratulations on the book launch. Ms. Humran, I'd like to acquaint our viewers with your distinguished career, so I'd like to say a few lines about you. Ms. Aurora Humran graduated from law school at the University of Buenos Aires and also completed her bachelor's in translation in 1982. In 2005, she received her degree as a certified proofreader from Fundación Literaria Fundió. In 2011, she was appointed the corresponding member of the North American Academy of the Spanish Language.
Ms. Humaran is one of the founding members and current president of the International Association of Professional Translators and Interpreters. Throughout her profession, spanning 39 years, she has specialized in legal, financial, banking, marketing, and literary translation. Amongst other books, Ms. Aurora is the Spanish translator of the New York Times bestseller, A Long Walk to Water, and the translator of If I Built a Car. She's currently working on a translation of Imaginary Animal and is about to start translating The Last Quintista. Thank you, Ms. Aurora, for sharing your beautiful poems with us.
Moving on, I'd like to introduce our next poet, Dr. Daisaku Ikeda. Born in Tokyo in 1928, he is a Buddhist philosopher, peace builder, educator, author, and poet. He is the third president of the Soka Gakkai and the founding president of the Soka Gakkai International. Dr. Ikeda is a proponent of dialogue as the foundation of peace. Since the 1970s, he has pursued dialogue with a wide range of individuals around the world in political, cultural, educational, and academic fields. He is a prolific writer who has over 100 works published to his credit. For all his humanitarian endeavors in a range of fields, he has been conferred numerous awards, including the United Nations Peace Award.
Dr. Ikeda's pursuit to promote peace through humanism over the last 60 years has been recognized worldwide, for which he has received nearly 400 academic honors, the highest ever awarded to a single individual. More recently, in February 2016, he received the International Poet of Peace at an initiative launched by Mohammed bin Rashid World Peace Forum in the UAE.
Reading Dr. Ikeda's poems today is Dr. Akash K.G. Uchi, an Indian hailing from Japan and the SGI representative for Southeast Asia. He has been part of the Indian community since 1975. He did his bachelor's in architecture from Musashi Institute of Technology, Japan, and completed his master's in rural and urban planning from Roorkee University. Later, in 1982, he did his PhD at Jawaharlal Nehru University. Dr. Uchi has been representing Dr. Ikeda and narrating his poetry at the Poetic Heart since 2012. Over to you, Dr. Uchi.
Thank you very much. Guest of the highest honor, His Excellency, Mr. Saki Anwar Musevi, and guest of honor, His Excellency Mohammed Dalaji, and guest of honor, Dr. Mohammed Abdullah, my dear friend, Dr. Shihab Ghanem, all eminent poets, students and teachers, and ladies and gentlemen. My heartfelt congratulations on holding the 11th edition of the Poetic Heart Connecting Humanity in Dubai. I'd like to express my sincere appreciations to Dr. Shihab Ghanem and volunteers of SGI-Gulf for their tireless support and efforts. This program has become a much-awaited annual event which many renowned Arab poets and poets from the world are eagerly looking forward to. Today, I'd like to introduce a poem titled Wish of the Full Moon, which Dr. Ikeda composed for his earnest wish for the children. The moon is deeply connected with the culture of the many countries. It appears in many stories for children. In Japan, the moon is the central part of the harvesting festivals in autumn. We gather and compose poems by watching over the full moon and making offerings of the agriculture product. In the story of the full moon, two rabbits appear and make the rice cake by beating sweet rice in the moon. The origin of the rabbit appearing in the story comes from the ancient Indian story of Jataka. And the story of the rice cake came from China, though the original story indicates that the rabbits were making a medicine which would enable human beings to live till eternity. The story of the full moon always gives hope and dreams to the children. Keeping this background, I'd like to introduce the poem of Dr. Daisaku Ikeda, Wish of the Full Moon. I read it in Japanese first and followed by English. お月様の願い。静かな大空に大きな心を持ちなさい。大きな笑顔を持ちなさい。みんなに語って満月が静かに顔を出した。おとぎの国からお月様。あなたは勉強してますか？母様、大事にしてますか？みんなを見つめてお月様。微笑み挨拶しています。星様キラキラ従えて、手と手を取り合い幸せに、きれいな歌を歌いましょう。みんなに語って満月が、夜空にロマンを書きました。優しく丸いお月様、明るく育ってくださいね。正しく育ってくださいね。みんなを見つめてお月様、うさぎを乗せて動きます。静かな大空に、あなたをじっと見ています。大きくなるのを待っています。みんなに語ってお月様、おとぎの国からさようなら。Now I read it in English. Wish of the full moon. In the vast serene sky, the full moon quietly appeared, encouraging all. Please have a big heart and a big smile. From the land of the fairy tale, the full moon watches over all. With a warm smile, the moon extends her greetings, asking, are you working hard in your studies? Are you taking good care of your mother? Accompanied by the shining stars, hand in hand, let's sing a beautiful song with a heart filled with happiness. Thus calling forth to all, the full moon painted a dream across the night sky. Cruising across the sky with a rabbit riding on her back, the kind round moon warmly watches over all, hoping and wishing. Please grow up to be cheerful and grow up to be the upright. In the vast serene sky, the full moon calls forth to all. I'm always watching over you, sincerely waiting for your growth. As she heads back to the land of fairy tale, the moon bids goodbye to all. Thank you very much for your listening. Thank you very much.
What inspirational words. Truly, we need an applause. What inspirational words. Have a big heart, have a big smile. And now, let's welcome Ms. Silvana Salmanpour. Ms. Salmanpour is an Iranian poet living in the UAE with continued involvement in all forms of cultural events for the last 34 years. She studied economics and political science from the University of Shahid Beheshti, Tehran in 1981. She retired as the managing director of Albedia Publishing and Printing Distribution Company and founded the Hafiz Literature Group in Dubai, which she managed for 20 years. She has published 6 books, many articles, and received 29 appreciation letters and awards from various universities, schools, and socio-cultural centers for her efforts in promoting poetry, art, and culture. She has also received a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Community of Women of Fars in the UAE. Put your hands together for Ms. Silvana Salmanpour.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be here today in this successful event, as well, since it is really my enjoyable and great experience since 2013. Thank you so much for all the team, hard work, and the restless team that every year give us this excellent event. I will be reciting 5 short poetry in Persian language, which has more than 1,000 years history of literature and poem. I am delighted to dedicate the first poem to our second home, UAE, for Golden Jubilee and the year of 50. This is the miracle of love. معجزه عشق 50 سال خدمت 50 سال عشق 50 سال تازش بی وقف سوی نور این رهبران دانا این مردم شریف با اشتیاق و شور با اسب‌های تیزتک علم و آرزو با اتحاد و همدلی از صخره‌ها عبور از سنگر کهن برخاستند و پا به مسیری گذاشتند که با راه‌های نو به جهانی شدن رسند. من 30 و چند سال این روزهای پرتپش و افتخار را به تماشا نشستم. دیدم چگونه با هنر و فکر و اقتدار در هر جهش به گلشن سرسبزی مملو ز غنچه‌های شکوفا رسیده اند. من شاهد عبور از آن صخره‌های سخت، من شاهد شکفتن اهداف بی‌بدیل، من شاهد حقیقی این لحظه‌های ناب در سرفرازی همه عاشقان صلح در روزهای جشن طلایی این دیار. هر جا هدف یگانگی و صلح و سرخوشی است، هر جا قدم به نیکی و پاکی و مردمی است، آنجا بهشت عشق، آنجا بهشت روی زمین است. مانا و سرفراز بمانید عاشقان، اینجا بزرگ راه رسیدن به آرزو، اینجا نماد معجزه عشق است. The second one is Freedom Alley, کوچه آزادی. با شعر در آرزوی دوستی و صلح، در جستجوی عدل و مساوات، زیباترین هدف را ترسیم می‌کنیم. با قدرت تخیل بیدار از کوه‌ها عبور، در دشت‌های دل با رودهای عشق جاری به سوی نور، تا لحظه رهایی از ظلمت. ای شاعران عاشق، ای عاشقان شعر، از صخره‌های ره نهراسید، در انحنای کوچه آزادی فانوس‌های شعر بیاویزید، تا رهگشای نوع بشر باشید. The third one is باغ در ظلمت. شبی سایه افکنده بر پیکر باغ دیرین دنیا، شبی تار و طوفانی و وحشت انگیز. درختان بداحوال و لرزان، فرو خفته در خاک سر شاخساران. همه بوته ها خشک و افسرده و زرد، گلستان اندیشه ها مملو از درد. نه آب و نه خورشید، نه آفت زدایی، نه مشکل گشایی، نه اندک امیدی به این باغبانان. شکوفایی غنچه ها در سیه‌چال تاریخ ممکن نگردد، مگر بارشی بی محابا، مگر با سپاهی از ایمان و باور، هجومی به باروی ظلمت و فتح در نور در آسمان رهایی. The fourth one. باران همدلی. گلهای آرزو را در لابلای شعر، در سطر سطر دفتر میکاریم. باران همدلی که ببارد با تابش همیشگی مهر، بر این حروف دل صدها کتاب شیرین می روید. این میوه های جان را در باغهای ذهن بکارید، روزی ز هر کدام نخلی ستبر و سبز بروید. روزی ز هر کدام نخلی ستبر و سبز بروید. And the last one. امواج آرزو. خوشا گشایش بال پرنده های خیال، خوشا سفر به دیار تو سرزمین محال. خوشا معامله کردن به لحظه همه عمر، خوشا شکستن قانون و قید و بند و روال. خوشا به خاطره جان و روح بخشیدن، گذشتن از دل ایام و ماه و ساعت و سال. رها شدن ز زمان و مکان و هرچه که هست، خوشا پریدن و رفتن جدا ز قال و مقال. دمی نگاه من و تو به هم درآمیزد، خوشا تلاقی امواج آرزو و خیال. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Salmanpur. Love is indeed a miracle, and when it's for your land, it becomes even more special. Next, we have with us Mr. Azedin Mihoubi, who was born in 1959 and is an Algerian writer, poet, novelist, and scenarist. He has worked in the media for more than 3 decades. Mr. Mihoubi held several administrative and political positions, such as being parliamentary deputy, CEO of Algerian Radio, CEO of the National Library, and Minister of Communication and Culture. He has published more than 40 books in poetry, novels, theatre, and thought, and has received several international awards and honors. Mr. Mihobi has been a member of distinguished cultural and media organizations. A hearty welcome to you, sir.
Can you unmute Mr. Mihobi, please?
Yes.
We can hear you, sir.
Thank you. The first one, كطير أغني جريحا أغني لأني أفتش عن وطن ضاع مني، أفتش عن فرح أبعدته المسافات عني. فيا أيها المشتهي وطنا من دم، هل دمي قدر أم دمي وطن بالتبني؟ أقول لهذا الذي يحتمي بدمي، إن من لم يجد وطنا يكتفي بالتمني. The second one, الحفار. بكى الحفار تنهدت المقبرة، وحيدا تسامره شجرة، يتوسد قبرا يخيط ملابسه بمسلة، يعد الخطى، يعد الحصى، ويداعب أشياءه بمظلة، ينام يخبئ بين مدامعه مجمرة. فكالحفار القبر تعرى وحط البوم على الصبار، تساقط من عينيه جماجم 20 عاما وتنطفئ الأنوار. يبكي الحفار يسأل معوله المعقوف ويبكي، من يحفر قبري الآن ويدفنني، من يحمل لي كفني، من يقرأ فاتحة القرآن علي أيا وطني، من ينشر نعيا في الجورنال ويذكرني، لا أملك غير بقايا النعش ويرحمه الرحمن. يبكي الحفار فيرتفع الآذان ويسأله الآتون لقد حضر الأموات الآن، القبر الواحد لا يكفي. الأخيرة، فلويد، مهداة إلى شهيد العنصرية جورج فلويد. تنفس لك اليوم في كل بيت رئة، وقل للذي كان يجثو بركبته لم أمت، كنت أحصي الدقائق حتى 100، 8 ونصف وربع وثانية، والخطيئة كالريح تأتي وتعبر أرصفة تتوزع موتي، فأسمع في القبر صوتي وألمح عرافة في الحديقة مستنبئة. أرى لعنة والتوابيت من حولها أغربة، والقتيل يوارى بلا أتربة. أرى أفعوان يشتهي الصوت إسفلت هذا المكان، أنا جئته باحثا عن أمان، وعن لعبة لابنتي، وقليل من الفرح المتأرجح ما بين لونين، والشمس واحدة والسماء متى اتسعت تنتهي، كلما أغمض الطفل عينيه وارتاحت الشفتان. أموت ولي بينكم شارعان، سأذل رمادا في نيق بعيد وأفضحكم في بقايا الصفير، وفي نظرة للرصيف الأخير متى انطفأت في العيون اليدان. تنفس، هي الأرض أضيق من فاجعة، رأوك تودعهم والمسافة ما بين موتين تنهيدة طالعة. تنفس، فإن جيانا التي صرخت في شوارع منيا أبي لم يمت، أبي سيغير طقس الكلام ولون العيون وصحو الأماسي، ويعلن في الناس أن البياض السلام، وأن الزنوجة أغنية يشتهيها الذي دمه العطر، يرقص كي لا ينام. أبي لم يكن عنصريا، ففي قلبه يستقر الحمام. تنفس، تنفس ولوح بكفيك حتى يراك الجميع ولا تختفي في الزحام. تنفس، فلا لون للأكسجين ولا شكل للحزن والدمعة المستحيلة في موكب الياسمين. وداعا أبي، إنني أتنفس من رئتيك لتبقى معي، فأنت هديتنا في السماء، وأنت حكاية مأتمنا الأبدي، وأنت اختزال البكاء. تنفس وقل للملائكة الطيبين امسحوا دمعتي. شكرا. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mihobi, for sharing such soulful poems like Grave Digger and Floyd with us. Thank you very much. We now come to the end of the first segment of the evening. Let's give a huge round of applause to our poets.
Moving on from poetry to music, let's warmly welcome Mr. Dev Chakraborty, an accomplished vocalist, composer, music coach, and talent groomer from Dubai. Originally from Kolkata, Mr. Chakraborty has had extensive training in Indian classical music from an early age under several notable musical gurus. Emerging as a promising young artist on various stage and television performances across India, he has performed as a co-singer alongside eminent Bollywood singers and musicians. His wide range of live performances and recording sessions in semi-classical, ghazal, Sufi, folk, and devotional genres of music are highly acclaimed by audiences throughout India and the UAE. Mr. Dev Chakraborty has collaborated with the very eminent and celebrated poet of the UAE, Dr. Shihab Ghanem, and has composed and directed music for his Arabic poems that were written about his love for the UAE.
Mr. Dev Chakraborty is accompanied by Ms. Sucheta Satish, a 16-year-old student of the 11th grade at the Indian High School. She is a 2021 Guinness World Record holder for singing in 120 languages in 7 hours and 20 minutes. She also held the record in 2018 for the most languages sung and the longest live singing concert by a child. She was declared a Global Child Prodigy in 2020 and is the recipient of the Ujjwala Balyam Award from the Government of Kerala in 2020. Please welcome Mr. Dev Chakraborty and Ms. Sucheta Satish.
হবে জয়, খুলে যাবে দ্বার, খুলে যাবে দ্বার।
سيفتح باب، سيفتح باب، لا لا تبالي، وامر أكيد
ওরে নাই নাই ভয় ক্ষণে ক্ষণে তুই হারায়ে আপনা সুপ্তি নিশীথ করিস যাপনা
مرارا مرارا ستظلم نفسك في عمق وعيك تصنع فما
বারে বারে তোরে ফিরে পেতে হবে বিশ্বের অধিকার
لا لا تبالي
স্থলে জলে তোর আছে আহ্বান আহ্বান লোকালয়ে চিরদিন তুই গাহিবি কি গান সুখে দুঃখে লাজে ভয়ে
سماؤك أهلا وأرضك سهلا تقولان والكون وسوف تغني طويلا ودوما بسعد وحسن بفخر وخوف
ফুল পল্লব নদী নির্ঝর সুরে সুরে তোর মিলাইবে স্বর
خفيف شجري وعطر الزهور ولحن الخرير بماء النهر ستعزف لحنك والنور والظل سارع وفنان
নাই নাই ভয় হবে হবে জয় খুলে যাবে দ্বার খুলে যাবে দ্বার
لا لا تبالي النصر وات سيفتح باب سيفتح باب
নাই নাই ভয়
لا لا تبالي
ওরে নাই নাই ভয়
That was absolutely amazing. Thank you, Mr. Dev Chakraborty and Ms. Sucheta Satish. I think I identified at least 2 languages in that song.
Absolutely.
We are now going to witness another prestigious book launch. Amwaj, meaning waves, is a collaboration between Dr. Shihab Ghanem and Mr. Suleiman Jazib. It contains selections of Arabic poems by Dr. Ghanem, translated into Urdu by Mr. Jazib. Let's put our hands together for Dr. Ghanem and Mr. Jazib.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you very much. Are you people are hearing me?
Yes, we are.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, today we are launching Amwaj, that is in front of you. Amwaj is Dr. Shihab Ghanem's poetry into Urdu. There are many similarities between Arabic and Urdu. Some of the words in Urdu are basically taken from Arabic and we understand it. And I met Dr. Shihab in 2009 in Dubai when he came to launch my first ever poetry book. And after that, I had many meetings with him. Later in 2019, I attended Poetic event. in that meeting, I asked Dr. Shihab that I wanted to translate your poetry into Urdu. Alhamdulillah, that wish come to the reality. And today, in front of all of you, we are launching Dr. Shahab's poetry into Urdu. Dr. Shihab is a very kind person and a very good poet as well, who has the skill to bring the poet from all over the world. And that is, I really liked it. And I'm glad that he's among my friends. I'm also thankful to Poetic Heart and its team to organize such a lovely event. You guys done a great job, and I'm hopeful that I will continue to translate Arabic poetry into Urdu. And Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Kana min saadati an tarjamtu qasaid Dr. Shihab wa inshallah tarjimul mazid min शेर al-Arabi liannani ahabba lughatul arabiyya. और मुझे खुशी है कि मैंने जो है उर्दू को जो ट्रांसलेशन की अरेबिक की, यकीन मानिए बड़ा अच्छा लगा जब उर्दू को मैं लिख रहा था, अरेबिक को उर्दू में लिख रहा था, तो बहुत सारी जो है ना सिमिलरिटीज मुझे मिली कि ये बहुत अच्छी जो है ना चीज़ है। हमें अरेबिक की समझ तो कुछ ना कुछ आती है, लेकिन जब उर्दू लैंग्वेज को और उर्दू के अंदर अरेबिक शेर को ट्रांसलेट किया तो उसका एक अपना ही मज़ा था। और जो उर्दू पढ़ने वाले हैं यकीनन उनके लिए जो है ये एक बहुत अच्छा तोहफा होगा कि वो अरेबिक पोइट्री को जो है वो उर्दू में पढ़ सकते हैं। और कोशिश भी होगी कि मैं डॉक्टर साहब की भी और बाकी अरबी जितने भी शुआरा हैं उनका कलाम जो है वो उर्दू में पेश करूं। एंड नाउ डॉक्टर शहाब खानम, अप टू यू।
Thank you very much, poet Sulaiman Jazib. You have done a great job, and I am very honored that your translation now is the 20th language in which my poetry has been translated. You translated a number of poems, but somehow all the poems that you have translated are amongst my most important poems. This is the book. It's called Amwaj, and it is, the same name in Arabic. Amwaj means waves, and the same name has also been the title of the poems that was translated by Silvana and also by Sabrina. So I am very lucky to have this poem become so famous. It's not only has been translated into nearly 20 languages, but it has been the title of 4 books called Amwaj. So thank you so much again, Sulaiman Jazib, and I want Sulaiman Jazib, and I again want to reiterate that every year in the Poetic Heart voyage over 11 years, we have been also taking care of adding this aspect of translation of poetry, and in every Poetic Heart, or at least we published at one time a collection of poems from all the poets that already participated in Poetic Heart. Once we did it in English and once we did it in Arabic. And I hope next year we'll do another project and select a poem from each poet, from you and all the poets who have participated in the past 11 years in one collection. That is what Mr. Suresh and I were discussing yesterday. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sirs, for inspiring us. Aren't we fortunate to experience such poetic stalwarts at Poetic Heart 2022? It takes the effort of talented people and a special place like Dubai, from where we are presenting, to create this sheer brilliance and enchantment. We now move on to our next segment of poets.
Sulaiman Jazib. Sulaiman Jazib is the CEO of mirchmasala.tv and the former editor of Urdu Akbar. He has 3 Urdu publications to his name: Teri Khushbu, सूरज डूबा नहीं करते and कत्ले गुल and इश्क कलंदर कर देता है. He is the recipient of 100 awards from different organizations. His hobbies include reading, writing, music, and traveling. He has been a long-standing member of the Pakistan Association of Dubai and Pakistan Social Center, Sharjah. He is also the secretary of Pakistan Journalist Forum, UAE. He is the founder and president of Musfira International. A warm welcome to you again, Mr. Jazib.
Thank you very much, Miss. My pleasure. तो मेरे लिए खुशी की बात है और उर्दू में मैं एक नज़्म जो है आपको नज़र आ रही है लव मोहब्बत वो पेश करूँगा। मोहब्बत, मगर ये मोहब्बत पुरानी भी होकर पुरानी नहीं है कि जो भूल जाए कहानी नहीं है, उसे जब भी सोचो नया जायका है। उसे जब भी सोचो नया जायका है, नई दिलकशी है। घड़ी वस्ल की हो कि हो दश्ते हिजरा, ये बाहों में डाले हुए अपनी बाहें, इधर भी खड़ी है उधर भी खड़ी है। घड़ी वस्ल की हो कि हो दश्ते हिजरा, ये बाहों में डाले हुए अपनी बाहें, उधर भी खड़ी है इधर भी खड़ी है। अजब फुल झड़ी है, कहानी है लेकिन कहानी नहीं है, पुरानी भी होकर पुरानी नहीं है, मगर ये मोहब्बत पुरानी भी होकर पुरानी नहीं है। और दूसरी नज़्म है जी, काश काश वो रात भी कभी आए, काश वो रात भी कभी आए, चांद जब आसमां पे रोशन हो, मेरे आंगन में तू उतर आए। चांदनी यूं समेट ले मुझको, चांदनी यूं समेट ले मुझको, तेरी खुशबू लपेट ले मुझको, मैं तेरी जात में समा जाऊं और तेरी रूह में उतर जाऊं। मेरी सांसों में तेरी खुशबू हो, मेरी सांसों में तेरी खुशबू हो, तेरा पैकर ही मेरे हर सू हो। काश ऐसी भी रात आ जाए, हाथ में कायनात आ जाए। काश ऐसी भी रात आ जाए। और उर्दू में सबसे बड़ी जो चीज़ होती है वो गज़ल है। तो उर्दू की गज़ल, रूह में मस्ती भर देता है, रूह में मस्ती भर देता है, इश्क कलंदर कर देता है। कोई मोहब्बत में दिल अपना, कोई मोहब्बत में दिल अपना, कोई अपना सर देता है। सबको मिट्टी करने वाला, सबको मिट्टी करने वाला, किसी किसी को पर देता है। मैंने देखा बिन मांगे वो, मैंने देखा बिन मांगे वो, सबकी झोली भर देता है। दश्त दिया है जिसने जाजिब, दश्त दिया है जिसने जाजिब, देखें कब वो घर देता है। इश्क कलंदर कर देता है। और इस तरह दूसरी गजल है जी, होंठों पे जो तेरे है ये मुस्कान मेरी जान, होंठों पे जो तेरे है ये मुस्कान मेरी जान, ले जाएगी एक रोज मेरी जान मेरी जान। सब होश गंवा बैठे हैं तेरे चाहने वाले, सब होश गंवा बैठे हैं तेरे चाहने वाले, इस बात पे होना नहीं हैरान मेरी जान। अपनों से कभी तरके ताल्लुक नहीं करते, अपनों से कभी तरके ताल्लुक नहीं करते, अपनों को नहीं करते परेशान मेरी जान। अपनों को नहीं करते परेशान मेरी जान, इस हंसने हंसाने से नहीं जाएगा कुछ भी, इस हंसने हंसाने से नहीं जाएगा कुछ भी, इसमें तो नहीं कोई भी नुकसान मेरी जान। चेहरे पे जमी धूल से क्यों भूल रहा है, चेहरे पे जमी धूल से क्यों भूल रहा है, जाजिब हूँ मैं जाजिब, मुझे पहचान मेरी जान, होंठों पे जो तेरे है ये मुस्कान, मेरी जान ले जाएगी एक रोज मेरी जान, मेरी जान। और एक और गजल, आखिरी गजल है जी, समाअत फरमाइए। तेरे रास्ते में बैठे हैं, तेरे रास्ते में बैठे हैं तो इसमें क्या बुराई है, तुझे हम देख लेते हैं तो इसमें क्या बुराई है, हमारा जुर्म इतना है तुम्हें अपना समझते हैं। ये जो होस्ट हैं ये शेर उनके लिए है। हमारा जुर्म इतना है तुम्हें अपना समझते हैं, तुम्हें अपना समझते हैं तो उसमें क्या बुराई है, बिछड़कर तुमसे हम जाना तुम्हारे पास होते हैं, तुम्हारे पास होते हैं तो इसमें क्या बुराई है, तुम्हारे जुल्फ के साए हमें तो रास आते हैं, तुम्हारे जुल्फ के साए हमें तो रास आते हैं, हमें ये रास आते हैं तो इसमें क्या बुराई है, तेरे जैसे नहीं लेकिन बहुत अच्छों से अच्छे हैं, तेरे जैसे नहीं लेकिन बहुत अच्छों से अच्छे हैं, बहुत अच्छों से अच्छे हैं तो इसमें क्या बुराई है, मेरे अशार में जाना तेरी आंखों के चर्चे हैं, मेरे अशार में जाना तेरी आंखों के चर्चे हैं, तेरी आंखों के चर्चे हैं तो इसमें क्या बुराई है, किसी ने ये दिया ताना कि जाजिब हम किसी के हैं, किसी ने ये दिया ताना कि जाजिब हम किसी के हैं, अगर जाजिब किसी के हैं तो इसमें क्या बुराई है, तेरे रास्ते में बैठे हैं तो इसमें क्या बुराई है, तुझे हम देख लेते हैं तो इसमें क्या बुराई है। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
Thank you so much, Mr. Jazib. Those were really, really beautiful poems and ghazals. There's something about Urdu ghazals, right? They're so profound. From one inspiration to the next, we welcome Mr. Ibrahim Al-Safin. Mr. Al-Safin is a professor of modern Arabic literature and modern criticism at the University of Jordan. After obtaining his PhD from Cairo University in 1978, he worked at various universities such as Yarmouk University, UTK University in United States, University of Jordan, King Saud University, UAE University, and Sharjah University. He has been the chairperson and member of many editorial boards, university trustees, and board of trustees for eminent cultural institutions. He is a member of the Jordan Academy of Arabic. Mr. Al-Safin has also written 35 books in literary studies and criticism, 6 collections of poems, 2 plays, and 2 novels. He has written approximately hundreds of articles and has been supervisor for innumerable MA and PhD theses. He received the State Award of Jordan in 1993, King Faisal International Award in 2001, and is the recipient of the award of Palestinian State for Literature in 2020. Over to you, Mr. Ibrahim Al-Safin.
Can you unmute Mr. Ibrahim, please?
Mr. Al-Safin, please accept the request to unmute you if it comes on your screen.
You hear me?
We do, yes. Thank you so much.
تسقط سنة، تتدحرج سنة، وأنا أرقب شلال الزمن العاتي يتدفق في صدر الأحلام ويفتت صخر الأيام العجلة بالأيام. تتناقص قائمة الرغبات، قال الآخر تتلاشى. للأحلام مذاق العسل البري، وللرغبات نصاعة وجه الأيل السارح في طيف غزالة، تتدحرج سنة تسقط في الذاكرة التعبى، للرغبات حنين الأمل الراحل في الفلوات، تتجمع قطرات المطر الدافئة على الجدران، وينقر عصفور الدوري على العيدان، وتهب نسائم أغنية حرة من أيام الزمن الأول تلمس أوتار الرغبات، تتدحرج سنة أخرى وأنا أرقب وهج الأحلام يذوب، وتذبل أوراق النايات، وتنوس الأيام وتمضي للنهر الراحل في بحر الشهوات، تتدحرج سنة أخرى. قال الآخر: يتدافع سيل الرغبات، نهر الأيام الضاعن في الأيام يفترع فضاءات أخرى، ويعود على عقبيه سريعا يتدفق في الحاضر، تتدحرج سنة أخرى. يقول الآخر: يتدفق سيل الرغبات ويغض الطرف، ينام الوجه على الكفين، هل يبكي؟ لا دمع يسيل على الخدين، بل تنهمر دموع القلب وراء صبايا النبع، وسرب يمام، هل يبكي؟ لا يبكي، بل يشرد خلف الأيل المتبختر فوق الربوة، تصهل فيه الشهوة والأحلام، لا يبكي، يركض خلف الأيام المسرعة وراء الرغبات وقاموس الشهوات، يتذكر فاكهة الماضي ووعود الأيام، الخيبة والكذب الأبيض والأحلام المجنونة، لكن يتذكر فجأة تسقط سنة أخرى، تسقط سنة أخرى، ويظل يطارد سرب الأيل بلا كلل، هل يبكي؟ لا يبكي أبدا، لكن تسقط من عين الظبية دمعة حب، هل يبكي؟ لا يبكي، بل تسقط سنة أخرى. قصيدة ترنيمة. تطير الفراشات مثنى ويمضي السنون يشق الفضاء، يرجع مبتهجا 40 نشيدا من الشوق والعسل السكري، مئات الرسائل تنثر وجد الليالي وبوح الحكايات في الأمسيات اللذيذة، يمضي زمان الهوى والزمان على حاله، تداعبه سنة النوم، لكن سيل الحكايات منتشر في العروق عصيا على النوم في زمن لا ينام، يغيب المحبون في نشوة العشق، يسكر رمل التلال ويذكي جنون الخيال، ويرتعش اللحن، هذا الحضور البهي يطرز ثوب من العشق، ألوانه من حرير السهول وموج البحور، وعشب الصخور ومن سنديان الجبال، أشعلت ألف سراج من الكشف مفعمة ودلالس صبايا مزينة بمرة الحكاية وترنيمة الوقت والياسمين، فرقصت حلم السنين وباركت ما طاف من أمنيات وما رف من زمن، يأسر الليل في الحلم، أسرجت كل الخيول إلى حلبة الفجر، تعويذة لسنين الأسى ورقية للهوى والحنين، هو العمر يمضي وهذا البهاء يضيء الزوايا ويسقي الحنايا، ويا العمر يمضي وكل الزمان بكفي ولا شيء يمضي، فهل يبرح الوجد والجذر في الصخر، والروح سابحة في الفضاء، يمضي ولا يرحل الوقت، ألقى عصاه بغاب النخيل، على دوحة العشق أمعن حلما ونام شجيا رضية وألغى جميع العصور. هذه قصيدة للأطفال كانت مقررة على طلاب الصف الثاني الابتدائي في دولة الإمارات، اسمها في العالم الكبير. في العالم الكبير معا نسير، نصادق الزهور ونرسم الطيور ونقرأ الدروس والكل يلعبون. في العالم الكبير في البر والبحار الناس يعملون، في السهل والجبال الناس يكدحون. ويزرع الآباء ويأكل البنون. في العالم الكبير أجناسنا كثيرة، عاداتنا أثيرة، خيراتنا وفيرة، آمالنا كبيرة، ويحلم الأطفال والكل يحلمون في العالم الكبير. شكرا. Thank you very much.
But another year falls down. What powerful words. Thank you so much, Mr. Ibrahim Al-Safin, for sharing those and for being part of Poetic Heart. We now present Ms. Beena Sarkar Ilyas. She is a poet, founder, editor, designer, and publisher of International Gallery, an award-winning publication since 1997. Besides, she is a fiction writer and art curator in India and overseas. Her books of poems include The Room, Fuse, which has been taught at the Towson University, USA, in English and Mandarin. She has also written When Seeing is Believing and Cercana Liana, Closer Farness, in Spanish and English.
Her collection of poems, Song of a Rebel, was launched in 2020. Her poems have been translated into many languages such as French, Spanish, Greek, Chinese, Arabic, and Urdu. Ms. Beena Sarkar Ilyas received a fellowship from the Asia Leadership Fellow Program in 2007 for her project Unity in Diversity. She is also the recipient of the Times Group Yami Women Achievers Award in 2008 and the FICCI FLO 2013 Award for Excellence in her work. Let's all hear it for Ms. Ilyas.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I don't know if I deserve that applause, but I want to thank Dr. Shihab Ghanem, whom I met last October by chance. I was in Dubai, and I want to thank, he invited me to read. I want to thank the amazing team of Poetic Heart, the gracious and eminent guests of honor who are here with us. I want to thank the fellow poets who are sharing their words and their thoughts in so much camaraderie. Thank you all. Thank you, Uchi-san, also for your Japanese poems. I love the sound of Japanese as I have an emotional connect with Japan, having lived there 5 years. My poems are generally short and I will read them quickly in the spirit of resilience. The first poem is Be Water. Be water, he said, let your thoughts flow into the arid fields of despair and nurture a harvest of hope. Be rain, she said. Let your love shower over hate and lost hearts. Let your water wash away the walls of the world. Be blood, they said. Let it rage through your arteries and awaken the dead cells of apathy. Be lava, I said to the forgetting world. Erupt from the womb of humanity and be a river of compassion. My next poem is titled, My Ink is Red. My ink is red with the blood of those who fight with their spirit of caring beyond the bubble of personal spheres, working day and night in the battlefields of an enigmatic pandemic that holds the world hostage for an uncertain time and unknown future, holds it hostage in a grip of fear and hopefully repentance for the centuries of misdeeds unleashed on nature, our soil, our trees, our rivers and seas, our lives endangered by nuclear waste, our air polluted with greed and power and a decimation of compassion. Beware, we shall live and die through yet another chapter of learning and not learn from it. Only hope anchors us to sanity. My ink is red with hope. Third poem is titled The Creak of Old Doors. When night stretches its quilt of woven stars over my sleepless eyes, I hear the crickets' last song before they sleep. I hear the wind lull leaves into stillness of night. I hear the sea murmur its ancient wisdom to the shore. I hear the plaintive call of a train, weary from endless journeys. I hear a child wail in Syria for its lost mother. I hear a mother weep in Mexico for her caged child. I hear the protest poems of Mias in the bylanes of Assam. I hear India moan for its tattered democracy. I hear the march of New Age fascists. I hear the bellows of Putin, Trump, Erdogan, Modi, Duterte, Johnson, Jong-un. I hear the creak of old doors waiting to be opened to usher in a new age of unforeseen incandescence. Do I read more? It was then, the Sufi sun. I'm sorry, I missed that. The Sufi sun. When the world is dark with viral fear, it wanders in the Sufi sun, sailing softly over the sea into my yawning window, stretched in parallels across the page, a ray of words. It wanders in the Sufi sun. And filling my room with limpid light, bathing my books with its evening warmth, singing silent songs of luminosity, distilling a ray of words. It wanders in the Sufi sun, its transience written on the wall, its transience written in the air, written in nothingness. Surreal days. The hours grew, each hour a day, time stood still, it lost its way. As the world unwound in a surreal space, as bewildered humans tried to face nature's wrath and nature's dare, and too much time to stand and stare. But know that clean air is our savior. Perhaps it's time we salute nature, halt our assault on seas and trees, love our creatures, birds and bees, love all colors of the human race, all religions or none embrace. Come, let us share the world as one, shed hate, with wealth and wars be done. Let's live in peace, let's live with love. Let's ruminate on the joys of earth. last poem is about the COVID times. It's titled 2020-2021 for COVID times. They tell me 2020 is a portal for your learning. Learn from the stolen lives, learn from our abuse of nature, learn from the factory of lies, learn from the ash of despair. So I step into 2021 with my learning, opening doors to unlearning, opening doors to humanity, opening windows to compassion, opening gates to the garden of truth, opening wounds to heal and repair. Each breath we breathe, let's unlearn, let's care, for we are mere molecules between here and there, between this moment and eternity, opening a keyhole to epiphany. Thank you.
Ma'am, that was so awesome. I could tell that poetry is such a fantastic form of expression. Humanity has indeed learned a lot through the pandemic, and your poem for COVID days is simple yet so impactful. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Let us now welcome Mr. Ali Al-Shali. Mr. Al-Shali holds a bachelor's degree in civil engineering from the UAE University and a master's certificate in project management from George Washington University. He has worked as an engineer in several multinational companies before working as the Senior Director of Publishing and Translation at the Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum Foundation from 2008 to 2014.
Mr. Al-Shali is also an active member of the Emirates Writers Union. He published 3 anthologies of poetry titled A Bee and a Rubaba, Faces and Very Others, and The Earth Has One Soul. He recently published his 4th poetry anthology and a novel that was shortlisted for the Sheikh Zayed Award. He's the Vice Chairman of the Emirates Publishers Association, a board member of the Cultural and Scientific Association in Dubai, and is also a board member of 1971, a cultural initiative of the Crown Prince of Dubai. Over to you, Mr. Al-Shali.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the good presentation and for the introduction. I think at the beginning, I will have to clarify something. I am attending another festival here, Emirates Airline Festival of Literature. And I found a corner in a coffee shop. That's why you can see people passing by. But I'm sure you understand. It's good to be here. Is my sound clear?
Very clear, sir.
Thank you very much. I'll start shortly. نظارة لم أحلم البارحة سوى بالبحر أخضر هكذا أراه يانعا خشنا متوعدا بتخمة لست أعمى إنما يخزني السير إثر إطار مشجر في أرض عذراء أنفاسي تليق بخطوي نبضي بالمعركة وأرى الأشياء كما أريد السماء خضراء أيضا غامقة كأغاني الصبيان وعندما أظمأ لضفة أرسم طريقي عبر الغابة بساطور أتبع الهديرة ورائحة الخوف خبز أمي زرقة الأبد تمر النوارس بطيئة كأن الهواء خسر ملاسته منذ زمن تدفئني البواخر توقظني بغناء على طريقة الكبار زفير بلا أحرف لن أهجر هذا البيت ذا الجدران العارية فلصدوعه لذة أعرفها لن أغادره لأن قزما يلجم عينيه بمرآتين ويمشي نحوي بخنجر، لأن جاري يسبر القمامة ويعد التمرات التي تناولها أبنائي على الفطور. في المساءات اليتيمة أحدث بنات آوى عن الثأر، تنصت كغريب متلهف، كلانا حفظ الدرس. بالبخور تنحسر العتمة، وبالنظارة تمر العاصفة. سرطان المعنى يعبئ الهواء، أقطف حفنة ضوء أدهن بها قلقي، ثم أنزلق إلى زقاق لا يفضي. السماء نهر مقلوب، حيوات لا تنضب، 6 أسباع الكون صمت، غناء لا يشبهنا، والباقي ثرثرة. دثريني، صرت أنسى كثيرا. جلسنا صامتين كتماثيل في متحف معتم، بلغ المسافر وجهته أو كلانا. بقيت متشبثا بكفك كعصفور تائه، نسيت أن أفلته طوال العرض لآخذ الآخر، وننجدل شعاعين في رحلة دفء. هكذا غدوت أرسم الكلام على بركة ضوء ولا أرسله. أنسى كثيرا أن للغرف أبوابا للخروج كما للدخول، أن للقصص خواتيم، للمدن مطارات وموانئ، وأننا اثنان لم نفهم الوقت وغايته. تأخرنا كما يليق بحالمين، وراكمنا من الخيبات كفاية. رفدنا غولا لم يشبع قط، لم يعد تغلغل الصقيع في المفاصل شأني وحدي. فأين تذهبين؟ اتركي لي صوتك وقصيدة القاهرة ودثارا آخر. أين ساعة يدك حينما نحتاجها؟ ما زلت هنا مرتهنا للقدر وحبكته، واقفا بالكاد في معركتي الأزلية مع الشتاء والدخان والنصوص المبتورة. أتجرع نقيق الساعات وأسئلة نجاتي الصغيرة عن السبب مرة بعد أخرى، وأحتسي من الفنجان الملون ذاته. فأين تذهبين الآن؟ وفي صف من أنت؟ أنا أم الشتاء؟ وحل. I'll read this in English. Mud. Here, among those who watch the passerbys with magnifying glasses, those who misspell, counting steps, keeping silent, too late, with naivety uncommon. There, the finishing line within arm's reach, and we drag our feet. Mud falls away, and dates and thorny questions. Lighter than air, we become. Dustily we inhale, like fish kissed by a camera while dangling from a hook. My hand on the remote, a serial killer appears, centered on the screen, stripped of everything but clothes pressed for this day, and dark remorse, a cigarette melting before the current flows through his soft body. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Al-Shali. You've joined us from the Emirates Literature Festival. It must have not been easy to leave the books, but how special to have books and poems on the same day. May I ask you a question if you don't mind? I was curious to know about the poem Mud. Did you write it originally in Arabic and then translate it into English, or did it just come naturally in English first?
No, I write only in Arabic. I hired the translator, but I proofread and edit everything he does. So it is partially my production, but I wrote it in Arabic.
The essence is very much there in English. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Last year, we celebrated the 50th National Day of the UAE, the country we proudly call our home. Every year, as we celebrate the union of the nation on 2nd December, our heads bow down with respect and gratitude to the leaders of the nation for providing us with a loving and beautiful haven. And we look up with pride at the traditions and developments of the land.
Let's once again welcome our global singing talent, Sucheta Satish. For our viewers, we would like to highlight the record-breaking talent of Sucheta, who has the unique ability to sing in 120 different languages. She will be enthralling us with the song Fi Hub al-Emirat, composed and directed by Dave Chakraborty, based on a poem written by our very own Dr. Shihab Ghanem on his love of the UAE. It is a humble tribute to the UAE on its Golden Jubilee celebration.
Superb, Sucheta. Kudos to the young performer. Such a catchy tune, too. I'm going to be humming it for the rest of the evening. Before we move on to the final segment of the evening, let's take a moment to thank our sponsor, Amity University. Amity University Dubai campus is committed to nurture talent through world-class education and conduct research in line with the UAE's vision for the future. Based in Dubai International Academic City, Amity University Dubai campus is spread over an area of 700,000 square feet with world-class facilities. Amity universities are also spread across North America, United Kingdom, Europe, and Asia.
The Dubai campus is licensed by Knowledge and Human Development Authority, Government of Dubai, and offers 45 undergraduate, postgraduate, PhD, and blended learning programs in line with the government's national agenda. From innovative programs such as nanotechnology, aerospace engineering, and forensic science to traditional courses like law, fashion design, journalism and mass communications, mechanical engineering, and applied psychology. Amity University Dubai has it all. Let's watch a brief video on Amity University.
Makes me want to go back to university again.
Yeah.
It's now time for the final book launch of the evening. Please welcome Dr. Sabrina Lay, who has translated Dr. Ghanem's book, Variations in Praise of Allah, into Italian through an English translation by Dr. Ghanem himself. The book has 3 languages, Arabic, English, and Italian, and is currently available on Amazon. Let's put our hands together for Dr. Ghanem and Dr. Lay.
Dr. Sabrina, would you like to speak first?
Yes, so let me say that it has been always a great pleasure to translate this other volume. This is the last volume of poems that I translated from Dr. Shihab Halgani. And we start with Waves, and we finish with this other great collection of poems. So I learned a lot from Dr. Shihab, not only as a translator, because everyone knows the enormous work he did to spread and to make it known the literature all over in English and translating from Arabic, of course. And but also what he did with Poetic Festival, with this private way of dealing with people, with this personal charisma, and this also very great human character. What he did to keep people together, to create bridges of understanding among people, cultures, languages across the globe. Now, I attend several, I think 2 times, the Poetic Festival in Dubai, and it was a great time. I know for all of us it was a very great time. I got the chance to meet people and got the chance to improve my knowledge and my capacities. So what to say, that everyone knows that Shihab Ghani is a great poet, and his poetry comes from his soul. And this book, Variation in the Praise of Allah, that I could say that it has been actually distributed and is still under distribution, but already people are taking interest in it, because people are start knowing Dr. Shihab in Italy and appreciate, especially people who are who knows and who can appreciate fully the Arabic, the original Arabic, because this is the greatness of Dr. Shihab heart, is the use of Arabic language. So I make it his poems are also prayers, and are moments of reflections. So it's not only poetry, but it's also faith, it is also inspiration, it's a consolation. So I did my humble work in translated to Italian, that is more an explanation for readers who don't understand Arabic. But it is the greatness of the work is in his great heart, and is in his also is a great human soul. So for me, has been always a mentor since I met him, and is a friend, is a leader, is someone that I really appreciate as an artist, as a writer, and especially and mainly as a human being. So thank you very much, Dr. Shihab, to teach us to be our leader, and to be always our soul, and inspire us towards this journey. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So it's a great always thing for me to be with you today, and always share with you this work and collaboration. So I invite everyone who doesn't have them, still doesn't know these poems, who read them once, not only because they are taught for Ramadan, for the holy month of Ramadan, but for Muslims, they are a source of great inspiration and consolation. This is the second volume, and I know people who really talk to me, that especially Arabs who live here, they say that reading Dr. Shihab Ghani poems open like goes for them a window on their culture, a window on their great Arab civilization, internet as a whole and as an unicum. Thank you very much, Dr. Shihab. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sabrina. I am so much indebted to you. This is actually, I think, the 7th book you have translated for me.
Yes.
And you not only for me, you have translated for humanity, the Quran, you have translated the Mahabharata, you have translated Muhammad Iqbal, and for me and my son, Waddah, you translated our book, Al-Fatiha, and it is sold in big quantities in Italy, in Italian, and it has been translated, of course, to about 7 or 8 other languages, and now it is spreading around. But you have translated for me also the short stories from the UAE. You have translated selections of poems from all over the Arab world, 50 poems, some of the best poems. And then you have translated for me a selection of my poetry and the Ramadan rubaiyat. And then this rubaiyat, which has just come out, and in Arabic and English, and in your translation in Italian. This book, I dedicated it to 5 very interesting and wonderful Algerian people. 2 of them are with us today. His Excellency Izzeddin Mayhoubi, the ex-Minister of Culture and Communications in Algeria, and to Mr. Mohammed Raji, our guest of honor today, who was the ex-Consul General of Algeria in Dubai, and 3 other wonderful personalities. And you are doing me a big favor. Thank you so much, Dr. Sabrina. And you are also doing the world a lot of service with your crusading efforts to publish all these important books that unite humanity. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your kind words.
Many congratulations on the book launch. We've been told that His Excellency Mohammad Daraji has joined us, and for the benefit of all those who joined us later, we'd like to share a few words about him. We are so privileged to have with us His Excellency Mohammad Daraji, the former Consul General of Algeria and Dubai from 2016 to 2021. His Excellency has held prestigious diplomatic portfolios in Iran, Italy, and Mauritania. He is an avid poet himself and has translated Persian poetry to Arabic and has also written novels and articles on literary criticism. About the Poetic Heart, His Excellency has shared that he's had the honor of attending 2 editions previously and was really happy to meet international figures in culture and literature on our platform. A very warm welcome to you, His Excellency Mohammad Daraji.
Assalamu alaikum. You hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Assalamu alaikum. Firstly, I would like to thank my big brother, Mr. Dr. Shihab Ghanem, and I would like also to thank all the members here. I am very happy to assist to this this great event, and I think this is the 3rd time that I assist to this event. And if you permit, if you want, I can read something right now. Can I read something?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That would be a bonus for us. Please go for it.
Yeah, it's a little novel. Half is a novel, and the second half is the poem. It's speaking about the conflict between generation and between the Orient youth and the Occident. So I can start right now. It's in Arabic. كان يجلس بين المسافرين ولا أحد سأله عن والديه ومن سمح له بركوب القطار دون مرافق. يتفرج من خلال زجاج النافذة ويتسلى برؤية الأشجار وأعمدة الكهرباء تتسارع في الاتجاه المعاكس. فجأة توقف القطار واندفع الطفل من أقرب بوابة وملامح وجهه المكفهر توحي أنه أخطأ الوجهة أو المحطة. رأى يمينا ويسارا، حدق في المرة لعله يعرف منهم أحدا، ثم نأى بنفسه، جلس وأخرج كتابا من كيس رث قد يفوقه عمرا، هو أشبه بكيس جندي منهك مهزوم، تقرأ في نسيجه وقائع حرب لم تبق ولم تذر. فتح كتابا أغبرا اندثرت ملامح عنوانه بين الغبار وطيات الزمان. بحث عن صفحة وغرق في القراءة. كانت قصة من حكايات الأندلسية. كان يرفع رأسه عند سماع أي صفير لقطار قادم أو مغادر، وكأنه يقطع حبل الحكاية بنظرة إلى الواقع حوله. هرب من حاضره إلى ماضيه، فلا طاب له العيش بين حدائق الأندلس في صفحات كتابه، ولا عرف كيف مرت الدقائق والساعات في زحمة متاعب يومه. فجأة سمع صفير قطار، لكنه لا يشبه صفارات القطارات السابقة. كان صفيره متواصلا ومزعجا، يفرض نفسه بقوة الضجيج ليؤرق هدوء المسافرين وكل من سكن قرب المحطة. تزينت مقدمة القاطرة بأعلام ترفرف في مواجهة الريح، كأنها موكب أفراح بهيج. نهض كل من كان في المحطة استعدادا للركوب، بينما لم ينزل أحد سوى رجل يحمل عصا. ولا شيء غير العصا يوحي أن الرجل جاء من بلد بعيد. جرى الشاب بعد أن رمى قصته الأندلسية وارتمى في صدر الرجل: أبي، تأخرت كثيرا، ولم نزلت هنا؟ فالمقصد ما زال بعيدا. يا أبي، كم من قطار فاتني وأنا ها هنا أنتظرك. كل الناس ركبوا ولم يبق إلا نحن. وظل الشاب يخاطب أباه في لهفة ويشتكي بحرقة، وأبوه صامت كأن الكلام لا يعنيه. وراح الشاب يشتكي لما حل به في سفرته، ويقص تارة ويسأل تارة: عيروني يا أبي وقالوا لابن عاهرة، قالوا ليس لك أم أهل للمفاخرة، قالوا في أمي كلاما ورسوما ساخرة، كبلوني طعنوني ضربوا في الخاصرة، بل قل لي قبلا يا أبي، لما تركت القاطرة؟ لما نزلت ها هنا والأيام سائرة؟ من أين جئت وإلى أين السبيل يا ترى؟ ومن أنا ومن أجدادي في العصور الغابرة؟ ومن أمي التي أحببت وكيف قالوا فاجرة؟ سئمت بحثا عن شهود حضروا المصاهرة. ألم تقل لي يوما أن أمي طاهرة؟ علمني أحكي بلغات الجن والسماسرة، علمني أكتب قصة، علمني أكتب قصة بكل سطر خاطرة. فالحرف سهل رسمه بل نطقه مقامرة، الحرف سهل رسمه بل نطقه مقامرة. علمني أشدو، علمني شدو البلبل بين النسور الكاسرة، أنشده في كل واد أن أمي طاهرة، وأن ظلها خصيب كالسحاب الماطرة، بل لها فوق الثريا علامات ظاهرة. هذا قطار أقبل، لن نبقى في المؤخرة، هيا ارتقي يا أبدي قبل انطلاق القاطرة. لا اركب أنت يا بني، فلي ظروف قاهرة. شكرا. Hello. Thank you. Hello.
Thank you so much, sir.
A big hand for His Excellency Muhammad Deraji. Thank you, sir, for sharing your poetry, and thank you for joining us today for Poetic Heart. We now move on to our last segment of poetry for the evening. Dr. Sabrina Lay, an Italian writer and researcher, is an emerging Western Muslim philosopher and cultural activist. Dr. Lay is currently the director of Tawassul International Center of Research and Dialogue, a Rome-based independent Muslim think tank of academics, public intellectuals, and cultural activists devoted to building bridges of understanding between the world of Islam and the West. It furthers interfaith dialogue and shares the peaceful message of Islam with others in an unobtrusive way. Welcome, Dr. Lay.
Oh, thank you very much. So my poems are written mainly in Italian, but I will try to recite them in Italian. And of course, you can follow most probably most of you don't know my language, but you could follow the translation that is mine, that we on the screen. So the first poem is The False Security, o La falsa sicurezza. Ormai, al termine dell'estate, presto muore il sole. La terra arsa ad un lungo riposo si dispone. Animali e piante si preparano alla stagione della lunga attesa. Potremo vedere ancora una nuova primavera? In un giorno di freddo, una foglia gialla, secca, priva dell'umile dimora in cui per tutta la sua breve estate aveva abitata, sotto l'influsso del vento viene spinta, stanca, sola e abbandonata, sotto le radici di un albero sempreverde. Alto, forte, maestoso, e pronto a sfidare ogni tempesta? Alla piccola foglia dice: il destino del debole è nella polvere, alle radici di una forza che lo domina. Solo nella grandezza vi è forza e potere. Eppure, in una notte di tempesta, un lampo spezzò il suo tronco, come il destino fa con le speranze di chi pecca di orgoglio. Ed ecco che il gigante cade e di rialzarsi non ha più la forza. Al mattino, quel che di lui resta viene gettato nel fuoco e solo radici ormai prive della terra rimangono, che in primavera i germogli nati da quell'umile foglia ricoprono. The second one is called prayer. Preghiera in italiano. O mio Signore, non rispondere alla mia preghiera se non temo te solo. Se tremo davanti a ogni uomo che penso comandi sul mio destino. Non proteggermi, mio Signore, se nella tua sola protezione non credi. O mio Signore, non rispondere alla mia preghiera se penso che la mia fede mi renda superiore, come se invece di un tuo dono fosse un mio merito. O Signore, non reputarmi un credente se della fede faccio un vanto. O Signore, non rispondere quando ti supplico per un mio diritto, ma di quello altrui non mi curo. O Signore, di me non ti curare se mi ritengo superiore agli altri e disprezzo la tua santa creazione. O mio Dio, ti prego, perdonami, perché l'essere umano è debole e qualche volta cerca la forza dove non può trovarla. The last poem is called Patience, la pazienza. Nulla mi ha insegnato la pazienza in questa vita, come l'attesa del tuo perdono. Nulla mi ha insegnato la pazienza in questa vita, se non il desiderio di una speranza nuova. Nulla mi ha insegnato la pazienza, se non il timore dell'ignoto, la gioia del ritorno e la pace alla fine del mio più lungo giorno. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lay, for sharing that with us. Italian is already such a beautiful language, and poetry in Italian sounds like music. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for appreciation.
Last but not the least, may we welcome our biggest patron, mentor, and guide, Dr. Shihab Ghanem, a UAE citizen living in Dubai. Dr. Ghanem has a double degree in mechanical and electrical engineering from Aberdeen University, a master's in water resource engineering from Roorkee University, a doctorate in economics from Cardiff University, Wales, and an honorary doctorate in literature from Soka University, Tokyo in 2015.
He is also the proud recipient of more than 30 awards. He has published over 90 books in Arabic and English, including more than 20 books of Arabic verse and about 30 translated books of verse, half to Arabic from various languages via English and half from Arabic to English. Some of his poems have been translated into 20 languages, mostly in full books. More than 20 songs have been based on his poems and sung by accomplished singers such as Mr. Sami Yusuf, Mr. Osama Safi, and Ms. Sucheta Satish. Let's put our hands together for our own Dr. Shihab Ghanem.
Can you hear me and see me?
Yes,
Hello?
to quote Dr. Ghanem. Yes.
Yeah. Because my computer has somehow jammed just now, and I have now I'm on the telephone, on the mobile. So it has been a wonderful evening to see all these friends in the first place, and to hear all this beautiful poetry and music. And I would like to read 3 poems. The first one is Al-Amwaj, which is the waves, which has been translated by both no, it was translated by both Mr. Suleiman Jazib and before that by Silvana Salmanpour, and after that and also by Sabrina, and it has been translated to about 20 languages. It is an old poem which goes back to 1972, and it is very much in line with our theme of today, of this Poetic Heart session. And then I will read a poem. I read in Arabic, and then I read it at the end in English. But I will read after it a poem called the Soliloquy of a Grand Tree, which has also been widely translated. And I will end up with a poem which I just wrote very recently after the event that happened in Morocco, when that poor little boy Rayyan fell into the well, and you know the story. It was all over the news. This is a very recent poem, and it is philosophical, and it is just about to be published in Morocco. The first poem, Al-Amwaj, it says, إنها الموجة تأتي إنها الموجة تذهب يا حبيبي هكذا الدنيا صروف تتقلب إن قسى الدهر علينا لا تبالي لا تقابله حزينة ابتسم وانسى اغتمامك ابتسم لي ما أحلى ابتسامك إنها الموجة تلهو إنها الموجة تلعب سوف تأتي ثم تذهب ثم تأتي ثم تذهب فإذا الأيام تقسو ربما في الغد تأسو وإذا الدهر تبسم لا يغرنك غدا قد يتجهم فلماذا نتألم يا حبيبي يا أغاريدي وطيبي هات أقداح الهوى شهدا مذوب أنا ظمآن فناولني لأشرب لا تدع كأسي بعد اليوم تنضب إنها الدنيا أفاويه وحنظل فلماذا نتململ يا حبيبي يا أخ البدر وأجمل ادفع الكأس لننهل وأدرها نغرق الغم المطول نحن إن لم نثمل الآن فأيانا سنثمل إنها الموجة تلعب إنها الموجة تصخب إنها الموجة تشتد وتغضب إنما والموج يستهويه عنف طالما طيفك في جفني يغفو طالما قلبي بالأشواق يهفو طالما قلبك بالحب يرف سوف يطفو حبنا دوما سيطفو لن يحول الموج يوما بيننا بل يجف سوف يبقى يا حبيبي حبنا الخطاق يشدو في القلوب صامدا رغم الخطوب. Thank you. This is my first poem. My second poem is also in Arabic. It's the soliloquy of a grand tree, which tells about the thoughts of a tree, which is the message of this poem is giving and giving, not taking and taking, but only giving and giving. يأوي لظلال رجل مرهق يغمض جفنيه وينام يستغرق في الأحلام ينداح على الكون سكون مطلق ويلف الكون الظلام يبزغ خيط شفقي في المشرق تأوي الأطيار إلى أغصان وتزقزق وتهب على أوراق الأنسام يمتز العطر الفاغم بالأنغام، وجه منتعش يفتح عينيه ببطء، عينيه كالبيضة تنشق، تنسل الفرحة من جفنائه، وتمد البسمة أجنحة وتحط على شفتيه. وحين تجف بأغصان الأوراق ويودعني ظل الوارف، حتى لا يبقى منه باق، يضرب منه الحطابون الساق. لكني قد أغدو مقعد بستان يحتضن العشاق، أو نافذة يتسرب منها الإشراق، أو تصنع من خشب الأوراق فتخط قصائد حب فيها، أو بعض رسائل أشواق، أو أمسي في مدفأة حطبا للإحراق، فأبث دفء الدفاق وأحس بأني حتى في لحظة إعدامي مخلوق خلاق. Thank you. I will read now the poem about the Moroccan boy. Rayyan, his name. ماذا لو سقط أحدنا في بئر ضيقة عشرات الأقدام، حيا لكن مجروحا، محشورا دون هواء كاف، دون شراب وطعام، مغمورا بالعتمة 5 أيام، والناس تحاول أن تخرجه في بطء لكن في جد من دون استسلام، تنقل طودا كي تنقذه لكن في حذر كي لا ينطمر البئر فيدفن تحت ركام. ماذا لو شعر المسكين بداء الخوف من الأمكنة الضيقة يضاف إلى الآلام، حينئذ ينشب فيه الخوف مخالبه فتضاف إلى الألم الأوهام. سيدنا يونس عاش ببطن الحوت تهدده الأحماض وفي جوع وظلام، لكن ظل يسبح ويسبح، يذكر رب العزة في اطمئنان وسلام، وبمعجزة أنقذه رب العزة ذو الإكرام. الناس بشرق الأرض ومغربها شعروا محنة طفل مسكين في المغرب لم تلمسه الآثام، وضعوا أنفسهم في موضعه، شعروا بالآلام. ريان طفل ما زال بريئا، أدعو أن يدخله الرحمن كطير أخضر في جنته. لكن ماذا عنا من خلط حلالا بحرام؟ سبحانك ربي دوما يا خالق يونس، كم تفتح أعيننا كي نفهم درس الحكمة، لكن في الدرس ننام. I will just read the poem about the waves in English also, because it is suitable for our conference. It is the wave coming. It is the wave receding. So are the vagaries of life, my love. If life at times is harsh on us, do not be sad, my love. Smile to me tenderly. Oh, how sweet is your smile. It is the wave playing, it is the wave having fun. It will come and go and come and go again. So if today is harsh, perhaps tomorrow will be kinder. And if a beguiling glance is cast your way today, be not deceived, my love, for tomorrow it may become a fickle frown. but do not grieve my love, my music, my fragrance. Hand me the cup of love, filled with sweet nectar. Soothe my parched soul. Never let my cup run dry. It is the world sweet and bitter. So why should we despair, my love, oh sister of the moon? But yet more beautiful. Fill the cup of love to the brim and let us drink, so that we may drown our lingering sorrow in its bowl. If we do not rejoice now, then will we ever do? It is the wave playing, it is the wave billowing, surging angrily, harshly, as though to welcome violence. But so long as your image sleeps in my eyelids, so long as my heart throbs with yearning, so long as your heart flutters with love, then will our love never drown, but forever ride the surf. And if the waves could come between us, they would dry up, so in our hearts will always be the song of love despite everything. Thank you so much.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Dr. Ghanem. We will always be grateful for your support and encouragement. And I'm sure the people of Morocco will find some solace in your poem. Thank you so much for sharing that as well. Ladies and gentlemen, may we now request Ms. Monica Sharma to share the closing address with us.
Hello, everyone, and a very good evening to all our lovely audience who have joined us from around the world for the 11th edition of the Poetic Heart, Connecting Humanity. The Poetic Heart, in its 11th edition, with the theme of resilience, witnessed some brilliant, soul-stirring poetry recitals by young budding poets, determined ones, and world-renowned Emirati and international poets, mesmerizing musical performances and book launches. I would like to take this opportunity to express our sincere gratitude to our sponsors, Emirates NBD and Amity University. A very special thanks to Dr. Shihab Ghanem, our guide and advisor, without whose unstinting support, this success story would have been written. I would also like to extend our deepest appreciation to our honored guests, senior poets, musicians, and young poets for gracing this grand event. Last but not the least, a big hurrah to all the SGI volunteers who have worked day and night relentlessly to make 11th edition of the Poetic Heart a resounding success. Endings are beginnings, and beginnings are ours to turn into something big, with the promise that we will be back bigger and grander. I once again thank all of you for joining us. Till we meet next year, stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Monica Sharma. Thank you for summarizing the Poetic Heart experience so well. Well, when one thing ends, something else begins. As our poetic rendezvous comes to an end, we look forward to the beginning of the next Poetic Heart, where music, poetry, and songs will fill our hearts, uniting us as invincible and resilient humanity, no matter what. Here's me, Pradipto.
And me, Kanchan, your host for the evening, signing off. Ma salama, take care, and see you in 2023.